Hi, this is Tina. What I'm going to make for you today is my wreath pattern. You're going to need a lot of white rubber bands. I decided to make the white wreath for you today. What I love about this pattern so much is that you can make quite a few different things out of it. I made a mandala bracelet, also made a snowflake, and a traditional wreath. They can be made into pendants, bracelets as you've seen, or pins. Barrettes would be nice. The bad thing about this pattern is you're going to need 7 rows of pins, which is equivalent to two kits plus 1 additional band. So we're going to start looping, and we want to start with our arrows facing away from us. I like to start this pattern in the middle of the loom only because there's going to be quite a lot of tension on the bands, and there's more stability within here rather than out here. So we're going to take 2 rubber bands, and we're going to start somewhere in the center. I'll start right here and go out to the left till we hit the end of the loom. We're using 2 rubber bands with every time we band. Okay, we're going to go 4 times up. Three times diagonally up to the right. I'm going to do this pattern in real time just because the intricacies of the band placement. We're going to go back and start from where we started from, and do the same thing on the right as we did to the left. I'm going to go 4 up, 2 bands going up 4 times. Now we're going to meet this peg right here. So we're going to start going diagonally up and to the left. Okay, one of my inspirations for this pattern was using the starburst pattern, but instead of using 1 central peg, we're going to use 2. We're going to cut the wreath in half right at this point, so everything on this side of the peg, this is your central point. Anything this side of the wreath, sorry, we're using this as your central point. Like the starburst, we're going to start in the 1-2 o'clock direction to make looping easier. Now we're always going to want to make straight lines. We have straight lines here, we have straight diagonals. We want to make straight lines all the way around. So we have right here is a diagonal, but it's kind of irregular. So we're going to make a triangle here. Doesn't matter which one you put on first, this one or this one. And there are 4 of those. Your second one is right here at these 3 points. You always start from the outside and work your way in when you're placing the bands. Our next one is at this point. And our last one is right here. Okay, so starting at this diagonal, we're going to go right into the center, and we're going to keep our bands as low on the pegs as we can, because these 2 center bands, we're going to end up with a lot on them by the time we start looping. Start from the outside, working in at around 2 o'clock. Okay, here we have another irregular straight line, so we're going to close that off with a triangle. Okay, and we're going to take that right into the center. And we're going to do this diagonal next. Alright, we've hit the halfway point in our wreath. We're now going to use this as our center peg. So this diagonal is going to end right there. Gotta close up this diagonal. Start at the triangles and move into the center. This diagonal. Okay, here we have an irregular straight line, so we're going to make that triangle again. Okay, this is the last diagonal on this half of the wreath. Closing up this diagonal right here, and then finishing off with the last straight line at 12 o'clock. Alright, just like the starburst pattern, we're going to need a capping band. You're going to take 2 white rubber bands because the tension is going to be so great you're going to need 2, and you're going to wrap them in half, and you're going to wrap them around the 2 center bands, and now we're going to connect all the bands together. We're going to use one band and make a figure 8. So stretch it out a little bit. I use 5 at a time. So 2 and 3. Bottom 2, top 3. We're going to turn it and do the same thing. Bottom 2, top 3. Stretch out a band. Fold it. This is going to give us our nice tight wreath. Right here I'm going to do 6. These 6 right here. And then our last 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Feels like a thin band. All right, here it is. This is what yours should look like. And we are ready to start looping. You can see the pin starting to fold in towards the center. That's just shows you how much tension there is. You want to turn the loom so that the arrows are facing you. We are going to start with the center pin right here, working our way out. There's 2 rows of looping, this first circle and then the second circle. I like to do all of the first circle first. It just evens out the tension. So we're going to start with this line right here and grab our 2 topmost bands. Then this diagonal. The next diagonal. We're now onto this band, the center peg right here. We're going to take the top 2 bands, this straight line, diagonal, as with most of the rainbow loom patterns, you're going to want to see a nice teardrop shape. If you don't see this teardrop shape, you need to go back and look at what you've looped incorrectly. You might have 3 rubber bands. You might have gotten one of the tighteners stuck with your 2 rubber bands. We're on to the first center pin again. We've gone through half the wreath. You're also going to want to use 2 hands a lot with this pattern as well, as you're either going to be holding bands down or just stabilizing the loom. Okay, we're done with the whole first row. We're now ready to work on the second. So we're going to use the next 2 bands, and I'm just going to go ahead and loop the third, holding those bands in place. Alright, we're at the triangle, so what you're going to want to do is grab the 2 uppermost bands and connect it to your starting pin where they originated from. Then the bottom 2. We're working on our diagonal. We're getting to the bottom pin, the bottom bands. Pushing down occasionally as you go along. 2 bottom bands. We're at a triangle, so you're going to pick the 2 topmost bands and bring it to the pin it originated from. Then the bottom bands. Again at the triangle. You can do one band at a time if it's easier for you, or if that's just what you end up coming up with. Alright, I think we are done. Just take a quick double check, make sure everything is looped up. Looks okay. We're going to start finishing up with the border. So we're going to go under the first two sets of bands to grab the bands that go to this pin right here, holding the bands down, going up and around carefully. And from here on in, we're going to choose the bottom two bands. Now this is where your hand is really going to start to hurt, because it's a very thick wreath, and there are a lot of bands on each peg, so it needs a little bit of muscle to go up and around. The loom is extremely wobbly right now. And I think Rainbow Loom is probably the only brand that's going to be able to sustain this much tension without the pegs breaking off. I've made this numerous times and have yet to have a problem. Alright, that half is done. We're now going on to the beginning and pulling up that bottom band, and you're going to choose the bottom band, two bands, pulling up and around until we get to the 12 o'clock position where we're going to be finished. And our last one, right there. Great. Okay, to finish up, what we're going to do is take our hook and we're going to go all the way to the bottom, making sure we have all our bands. We're going to take a white rubber band and hook it onto the hook, and we're going to pull it up and make a slip knot. Whoops, and there goes the loom. Alright, well that's good because we're done. So we're going to take our hook and we're going to start taking the bands off the pegs using our hook, again because of the tension. And you only need to do the first couple of outside ones and then it'll pretty much just come off. Make sure your bases are configured correctly. This is the first time this has popped off on me, and I think it's because I really was just wanting to get this video done and I just rushed putting the blue bases on. So I wasn't really paying attention to the stability, so please make sure that your base is stable. There we go. Alright, here you have it. Beautiful, perfect white wreath. Thanks for watching.